All right, everybody. Welcome back to the still currently unnamed car podcast that we're putting out for the lovely members of the 812 Street Crew. I'm here today with Austin Stallings once again from our previous episode, and Patrick Girton. He's joining us today as well. And you guys want to? I know we already introduced you last week, Stallings, but you want to say a few words, Pat, for people?
Hi guys, I'm Pat Girton. I'm second in command of 812 Street Crew. I don't know, I drive a Subaru. That's really about it.
Well, there's more to you than that than just having a Subaru.
Yeah. Drive a 04 Forester XT. Love coming out to the meets and stuff. Love meeting you guys. We're actually putting on, going to do some shameless self-promotion here.
There's no shame in self-promotion.
We're in August. We are putting on a Tail of the Dragon cruise. So if any of you guys who are corner thrashers like myself would like to come out to that, you definitely should. We'll have dates and everything posted up here soon.
Gotcha, because I know you did it on kind of a little within Group 1 last year.
Yeah, over fall we went there with, it's like 7 cars? Yeah, about 7 cars. It was a blast. That was where Jacob Hall's SBX transmission decided to finally say its last goodbye, but still a good time nonetheless.
And there's nothing like trailing your car along the Dragon, too.
It's nothing like trailering an all-wheel drive car back home where you have to disconnect the front diff and all this stuff. That was
did
great.
you car dolly it?
Oh, we had to car dolly it because that's all we could get.
Oh, I thought you had a trailer.
No, it blew up on the way home and sprayed gear oil all over mine and Zach Willis's car. And we had to get it up on the trailer, we tried to disconnect the exhaust, but we couldn't, so it just dragged the whole way home. And we had to disconnect the front axles so that the rear would. It was the front or the rear axles? No, it was the rear axles. We disconnected so that they would spin freely. But good lord, that was an event.
Yeah, if I try taking my Mustang on that, the only thing it's going to end up is in the frickin' ditch.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a Mustang handle. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. It's just, it's more expensive than other cars.
But it's the way I didn't build mine to handle turns. I built mine to be a straight line car. Yeah. And, everybody has their own thing. Drag racing is mine. So, I mean, I had a car that could handle turns really well, but I sold that. It was my old Eclipse. That old GSX I had, I mean, that thing could turn on a dime. But I've sold that, and, I just stuck with the Mustang and tried taking we went on a, just a little back county road cruise not too long ago, and I was with, Patrick and his Forester, and we were with Chase Miller in his Porsche. You have these two cars. I mean, Chase wasn't hitting brake lights at all. I mean, he was hitting turns, going freakish speeds, and, if Pat hit the brakes, it wouldn't have been very long. And then you'd have me if I hit that turn going faster than 55, I'm sliding. So
you disappeared.
Yeah, you guys. I think you guys were like trying to lose me. There was no relaxing cruise that night. It was like, let's lose Stallings.
Chase and I got to the point where we just wanted just to see if we could, and I mean, it became quickly apparent that we could.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was impressed. I'll admit that.
Dude, those cars, they'll get up and go.
I mean, I bet that Porsche probably weighs around about 3,000 pounds.
Less than that from what I've heard from Chase. I think about 2,800.
Really?
Yeah.
And your Forester's probably pretty similar overall.
Forester stock weighs about 31 to 32, which still, for a car, isn't much.
No, that's not, but I think your Mustang's probably closer to like the 36 range.
It's 3601 is what it's labeled at, but yeah, it's 36 range.
Yes, I mean, you got 500 pounds higher up, I imagine, both of those cars as well, too. So it's going to even feel less inspiring, or confidence-inspiring going around the corners, too.
Yeah. And kind of in my defense, my Nino NT05s that I have on the rear of the car, they are...
bald?
Yeah. They've been on several road trips. It's time for me to get new ones, but I don't want to get them in the middle of winter, just for them to be worn down for the race season.
Well, do you know what treadwear those are?
Honestly, I do not know. The tires themselves have like a lifespan of I can't remember if it said 12,000 or 25,000.
I mean, it's a summer tire.
Oh yeah, summer tire, soft tread.
Yeah, because I mean, they're not even really supposed to be like out in the cold winter. Like I've got
No.
Advent 808Rs for like my summer wheel tires for the Miata, and they're sitting behind my bed right now, just because keeping temperature controlled, not letting them lose the stick.
Yeah.
But I got like 8-year-old all seasons on the basically dolly tires whenever I need to drive that.
Well, I remember you talking to me at a meet one night, and you were telling me about how your RPF ones were not doing as well as you had expected.
Well, I mean, I got them used. I didn't buy them brand new because I'm about trying to save a little bit of money. And whenever I got them, I found one of them had a crack in it, but such is life, and then the other one had a little bit of a bend. And whenever I've got these wheels and tires on them, they kind of shake a little bit at about 65 miles an hour, which is pretty normal for Miatas apparently. So I don't know how hard Alaska had to have hit something with those to bend them, but apparently you can pick out of 3 things, get 2: you can be cheap, light, or strong.
Yeah.
I think RPF ones are on the cheap and light side, not so much on the strong, but
Yeah.
I'm happy with them though. They're so light compared to the shit that I had on them before.
And they're really not bad wheels from what I've heard. I've considered putting them on my Forester when it's done, but I just don't know after hearing that from you if I want to go that route, because I need them to last with the type of crap that car does.
And I mean, another thing is, I don't know what size you're looking at getting for your car.
It'd be anywhere in between, because I don't want to do any fender modifications to the car, because it's going to be more of like a track, autocross, hill climb type car. I really don't want to flare it out and add that more wear on the ball joints. And I got to look into that a little bit more to see if it's even going to matter. But I've looked into anywhere between an 18 by 8 and a half, 18 by 8.5 with a 40 millimeter offset, or an 18 by 9.5 with a 38. Because you can't go past a 38 offset on most Subaru chassis.
Yeah, and they're really high offset, like the Miata is, or at least mine is. It's like plus 41 stock.
What are the offset on your RPFs?
Those ones are 15 by 7 plus 35, I think, because I didn't want it to rub and I didn't want it sticking out like crazy, because the wheels that I got the car with were like 2 inches outside the fender, so it's stock height, and I wasn't about that. But I mean, they kind of push out. It doesn't look so much like it's kind of hoverboarding down the road, and it still steers really well for no power steering. So I like them for that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely nice.
But I would check with some other people on our RPF ones, like at 18, because I mean the roads around here are not phenomenally well paved.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to, be shelling out $250 anytime one gets a nasty bend in it or anything. But at the same time, I don't know. Yeah. I haven't bent mine. I know I got them bent, so I don't know what it takes to do it.
Well, I've looked into the RPF ones, and I've looked into Advan Racing RSDs, and if
those Advans look great.
Oh, dude, yeah. And I've looked into the standard Volk TE37, but do I really want to spend
$3,000?
Over $3,000, I think, for some of those TE37s. I mean, you're looking at close to $4,000 just for the wheels.
I mean, I think they look great, but I think that's all just name on those things. Like, I can't pay that much for a set of wheels for just my second car.
Yeah.
If I had one car and I just babied it all hell, maybe I would, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I understand that for sure.
But yeah, I mean, we're here put out another episode for you guys, and we got a couple of topics we consider talking about. One of them that I wanted to bring up, just to get you guys' ideas on them, kind of how you feel on it, is because everybody's got these project cars, and everybody, they picked it for various reasons. They had an idea of what they wanted to do with it, how they wanted to feel when they drive, and just what they wanted out of their car. And in doing all, at least out of my own experience, doing research on what you should and shouldn't do on these cars, you come across some things that are pretty popular among your car's respective community that just you don't like. And I'm curious as to what you guys are. Like for me, I have a Miata, and it's an NA, so it's got the pop-up headlights. I think it's the most obvious characteristic of the car is that the lights pop up and go up and down. But all the people that do like those little LED strip headlights that just it stays in place, real low profile, I hate those. I can't do those things. So I'm curious as to what you guys are, because you both have a couple vehicles that you have, and curious what your thoughts are.
Well, something that being a Mustang guy, us in the Mustang community, the majority of us are very traditional. One of the things that I really don't like, something that people do to their Mustang, is one of the things that characterizes a Mustang GT over your base model V6 getting away from the badges, is the fog lights in the grill. In the new models, well, it's more S197 really is where that's at, and because back in the day, if you looked away from the badges, the V6 Mustangs, you'd be able to tell the difference by how I did it when I was younger was the exhaust. Like the V6s only had one, V8s had two. Mm-hmm. But S197 came in, and as the years went on, they eventually got away from that. But you could tell, like a V6, like if there's a Mustang coming towards me on the road, I can tell right away if it's going to be a V6 or a V8 because the V6s won't have the fog lights in the grill, mm-hmm. and the V8s will. And so the way I see it is like that's showing that you have a V8. You should be sporting that. It's something that just kind of I don't really agree with is people delete their fog lights.
Kind of down badging it almost.
Yeah, it's like down badging it. I mean, I'm finding a lot of use out of them, even away from showing that hey, this is a V8. I find a lot of use out of my fog lights, and even when the weather's clear, I still shine them all because it's a rural area. You're on the back roads, you're going to take all the light you can get. But that's just a small thing. I don't really talk about that much. It's just kind of I'm never going to delete my fog lights. I just keep that in my mind. I got a couple of buddies who have, and yeah, they took it out of their grill, but they did put it in the like how the Shelbys are said they have it in the lower bumper. Mm. I mean I guess yeah that's cool, but that gets into question. It's like, are you trying to make me think you got a Shelby? It's kind of like a V6 guy badging up his car.
Yeah, it just doesn't sit right with you.
Yeah, and I speak about traditional stuff. Now I'm not going to say that I hate this mod because it is a very respectable mod, and a lot of cars that have it are very respectable and are putting out numbers that I could only dream of. And I just don't agree with putting a turbo on a Mustang, on American V8. If you ask me, what's traditionally correct and would be if you're wanting to go forced induction, go Pro Charger or Supercharger. There's that argument, that you might get more numbers out of the turbo, or the turbo might help you out on the long end of the race. But the way I see it, remember how I said I'm a straight line guy, straight line racer guy. The way I see it is if your car can take off quick enough, which is what the Supercharger does, it gives you that instant power. So you're going to get that instant power on the short end of the race. If you can get enough of that and get far enough ahead of them, it don't matter if they're faster, they're putting out more power in you. If you get the jump on them, you're going to win that quarter mile or an eighth mile.
Well, here, I actually have a question for you.
What's that?
Regarding that. So you said you like superchargers on V8 cars and not necessarily turbochargers. But where would a centrifugal supercharger fall for you? Because that's essentially a belt-driven turbo. It's a supercharger, yes, because it's driven by a belt, but it works like a turbocharger.
Well, that when you say that, it's just one of those things that I wouldn't be objective putting one on there, but it's just one of those things where if I had a choice between your traditional supercharger and something like that, I'd go with the traditional. But I'm very loyal to our policy, respect all builds, mm-hmm. and like I said, some of the most respectable Mustangs I know have turbos on them, but that's just not my cup of tea.
No, that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and trash talk someone because he'll freaking run circles around me all the way down the quarter mile. But I mean, with my car, if I was to go forced induction, at first I'd probably put a Pro Charger on just because my Boss 302 intake manifold can handle that. I've already put the money in it to put that on there. I might as well use it. Now, if I did do that, a few years down the road, I decide to change it up. Yeah, I'd put a supercharger on there and go from there. As long as it's long enough that I felt I've had my fun out of this Boss 302 intake manifold. Yeah, I'd move on from it.
It's actually funny you mentioned that because I was looking at some superchargers and new parts, just trying to stay up with all the stuff that's out there on the market. Because Austin Colston and I are actually thinking about here soon starting to distribute performance parts. We're trying to start our own store and do stuff like that. So if you have any ideas, please let us know what you would want to see in a store local to you for your performance car. But ProCharger actually just released a new supercharger where instead of just having one belt, it actually has a transmission style thing behind it where you can switch between different size pulleys for different boost applications.
Seriously?
That sounds expensive.
That sounds fancy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you have a centrifugal supercharger, which works like a turbo and is really good for daily applications. So you can switch to, per se, a 6-pound pulley, or you can turn it up to 10 or 12.
And obviously, you say it's like a transmission style behind the pulley. So is it all just like electronic? You just basically click a switch in your car, and you can change the gearing of it to get more resistance. Really?
Yeah, you can move the pulley. And from what I understand, now
Okay.
you'd be better off looking that up on ProCharger.com.
Yeah.
But it's just cool that you can now have a programmable supercharger.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure somebody's going to hack this into a way where they can basically do it. You know, say they're going drag racing, they can have just a variable supercharger pulley through it. I mean, basically acting like as a CVT, but for a supercharger, where you're just constantly at max boost, basically.
You can actually, for an added extra price, which Lord knows how much that would be, you can get a screen installed in your car where you can just touch the screen to what PSI you want.
Oof.
And it will adjust the injectors and everything.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's like having 4 preset boost tunes on a turbocharged car.
That's crazy.
Super cool.
That's crazy.
For me, since we're talking about the mods we had on cars, being a Subaru owner, there's a lot of different styles of Subaru owners. You know, you have some guys who are like, oh, it's a rally car, so if you lower it, that's dumb. You got guys that think it's a track car, so if you lift it, that's dumb. I mean, just mods that are not functional, I don't like. But if you want to go into stuff that's just really annoying, it's not even on a Forester. Because you can on a Forester. Well, actually, no, it would apply to a Forester. Anything on the exterior that says STI or has the correlation to STI, if you don't own a car that is an STI, don't put it on there with a badge that has that on there. I mean, in some ways it's acceptable. You know, like STI seats. They're better than stock seats. That's acceptable. The STI wheel. For Foresters, you can get JDM STI gauges that have a different layout, which is much better for racing because the tack's in the middle rather than off to the side. That's fine. That's fine. But STI wings, STI front bumpers, badges. I mean, it's just up badging, but more expensive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of, you're looking at like an upgrade versus an up badge. Like wheels, seats, functional things, that's an upgrade.
Yes.
Versus, hey, this is the Super Forester STI.
Yeah.
That's an up badge.
In a lot of the Forester owner forums, you see I have a Forester XTI. So it's somebody that made their Forester look like a JDM STI because they did have Forester STIs in Japan. And they get razzed, man. It's just like putting an STI wing on a WRX.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
No, we're not going there. But besides that, which is, a pretty obvious thing for most people, up badging is just something people don't like. Kind of like with what Stallings said, he prefers a supercharger over a turbo, even though, a turbo most of the time can give you more horsepower. I don't like equal length headers on Subarus because I know that you can run a twin scroll on them. You can get a little bit more horsepower out of them than per se an unequal length, but it doesn't sound like a Subaru anymore.
Well, I think, isn't it the new WRXs have equal length headers on them?
They do, because they have a front-mounted turbo rather than back in the corner. A lot of people like me who are performance enthusiasts in the Subaru community, because, you have a bunch of different types of people in the Subaru community, they like that sound, because that sound's been around since, I think, the 60s. That sound's been around for a long time.
I think it's kind of the natural... Or I suppose not the natural way that a flat forward sound, but that's kind of the typical way that it's done because it's more expensive to run more exhaust manifold and more, takes up more space versus more compact unequal length. So that's kind of the traditional way you'd hear it as opposed to, I guess, the natural way it would sound. But, and it's kind of like I said, you like performance, but you don't like that. It's just one of your reservations you'd have because the maximum performance you could extract would be on an equal length header, but if it makes the car less enjoyable, is it worth it?
And it's just some things like that, because if everybody, a lot of people are really caught up in the mindset, I have to be faster than this other person. And to some extent, that's good. It keeps the competition up and it keeps things interesting. If thoughts like that didn't exist, we wouldn't have the car scene that we have today.
You
the
have cars up today. You just have people who is like, oh, well, this has worked for 130 years. Let's just keep going with it.
Right. But you got to build a car for you and not just for it to be fast. Because you see a lot of people who they finish building their car, they gap who they wanted to, and they're like, okay, I'm going to sell it now. It's like, no, it's because you built it to where you can't use it anymore, and now it's not fun.
Yeah.
And some people want to build a 1,300 horsepower car, and I'm not dogging them. That's great. That's awesome.
And
hands down, super cool.
And and when they do that, I mean, that just makes the game easier for us down the line. Not so much that everybody down here can get 1,300 horsepower, but they get all the benefits of making a 1,300 horsepower car work on a 600 horsepower car. That just bulletproofs everybody's setups and makes
Yeah, and the more high horsepower cars we have, the easier it is for people like us who just want maybe 500 to get there. But you got to build a car for you. You don't need to build a car to gap somebody. If you enjoy how your car drives, maybe it's not the fastest in the quarter mile. It might kick some ass around the corners. I mean, you got to build your car for you. It doesn't matter how fast it is or how people perceive it. If you like it, in the end, that's all that matters. And that kind of goes back to the equal length and unequal length. I like how the unequal sounds. I'm building the car for me. It's not going to make the maximum stupid horsepower, but I mean, I like it. So.
Well, and another thing as well on that, like if that's what the sound that you prefer to have, it's also like what is the true, percentage gain from going unequal to equal length headers? I mean, is it even ever worth it? Or not ever worth it, but is it truly a significant difference for people, at the point where you want to be at? It's like...
Well, from my research at least, on a stock single scroll, or even a big single scroll, it yields 15 horsepower.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that you can run a twin on that, which is a huge difference. Now, I could be wrong there. That's just what I've researched. But, for me, running a big single on my car here soon, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If you know a little bit more about Subarus and their turbocharging systems, more than I do, what's your thoughts on single turbo versus twin turbo?
That really just depends on the application. I personally prefer single because it's just an easier setup, and I like how the power band comes on different because twins is more linear. Mm-hmm. But I like the kick in the ass of the single. I just like how it feels. You can make good power out of either one. It really doesn't matter. You can have two smaller twins, or you can have just this big ass single, and it works either way. It works great, but it really just depends on the application. They're both good. And
I kind of think that the need for twin turbos has kind of gone away. It's more or less people just want it because it was that a giant single turbo was going to take a long time to spool up as opposed to two smaller ones will spool up faster and you'll get into boost and be able to get going down the road. But I mean, now the technology's advanced so wildly with them that a single turbo is just as effective for most people's applications as opposed to all of them. But nonetheless, I still think twins are cool.
Twins are very cool.
Yeah, well, I think even some, I don't know the name of it, but there are some people, when they go twin turbo, one will be significantly bigger than the other. When the little one's going, as the bigger one's spooling up, so...
That's called a compound.
Yeah, a lot of diesel guys do it.
A lot of diesel guys will run like a 68 to a 103 and make 2,000 foot-pounds.
And they're making like 150 PSI, because I mean, that's
a lot
the crazy shit that diesels need just to run is just insane in intake pressures.
Oh, yeah. I like Old Smoky F1. That
thing is so damn cool.
Oh, dude. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it was something regarding the twin versus single. Like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the Mark V Supra a single turbo, whereas the Mark IV's turbo is the sequential twin turbo?
It was sequential, and it's kind of this... The GTR has kept with twins, which is great for... It really kind of depends on what you want your power band to be. Because, I mean, still, even to this day, a big single will spool slower than two twins. I mean,
inherently, physics just mandate that.
You can't really change that unless you have, like, an anti-lag system.
Yeah.
but it depends on if you want it to be okay, normal, and then holy shit, or if you want the entire thing to be holy shit. That's the best way to put it.
You still get the same amount of shit. It's just spread out over a different area. It's like you have it all at once, or you can have it kind of spread out.
At least for me, what I like about the single, because the single that I'm looking at on my car, which is a Garrett GTX 3076R, is it spools later, which means you can still get off the line before you start spinning, because your power comes on after you grip. And especially with an all-wheel drive car, it helps. But it also helps for in-town driving, because with a smaller turbo, you're going in and out of boost all the time. With a big turbo, you only hit boost when you want to, which helps for daily drive applications too.
Yeah, I agree with that. At least I don't foresee in my future daily driving a big single car, but we'll see what happens.
Well, with twins, it's all linear. So
Yeah.
With twins, it doesn't really matter.
And at the same time, I really don't see myself daily driving a twin turbo car either, because unless I go buying a Mark IV Supra for some ungodly reason, I don't know. I don't know what my other options are.
GTR?
Yeah, who says that good performance? You in the future might go out and buy an EcoBoost F-150.
That is a
No,
twin?
I'm not doing that. I can tell you I'm not doing that.
Oh, hell no. Something I was curious about,
Yeah.
and I believe we talked about this before we started recording. We all have our brand loyalties. Everybody has that one brand that they love. Mine being Subaru, yours being Ford, yours being just whatever Cam Lancaster wants.
Pretty much.
Outside of your brand, everybody has that one car outside of their brand loyalty that they want. So for you guys, what is that one car outside of your brand, whether it be vintage or new, and you can do both, that you would have that is outside of your brand?
Yeah. I'm going to need a second to think about that, because like you mentioned, I'm not super brand loyal to any one, so I don't really have a rival brand. But I know there are cars that I think are killer out of brands I really don't care for, but it'll take me a second to think about that. And I know Stallings, you pretty well know your answer to this question. I'll let you go ahead, and then I'll kind of think about it for a second.
Yeah, are we just going to go around and do vintage first and then come around, or are we just?
Well, you can just do both of yours.
Right. Whichever you feel.
Well, I'll start with vintage. Everybody knows me knows I am very loyal to Ford, and but if there was a vintage car that I could have outside of Ford, it would be a split between the AMC Javelin and the Judge. Those are two very legendary American muscle cars from back in the day. And you think of muscle cars back in the day, you're thinking Charger, Challenger, Camaro, Mustang, even Chevelle. But the AMC Javelin or the Judge, those are some old legends.
But they're truly iconic vehicles.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the Judge, which in everybody's mind is always orange. And you have like the AMC, which is always had that, or not always, but it with the red, white, and blue livery on it.
Yeah, and they're very iconic cars. And what I like, especially with the AMC Javelin, you could be a diehard Chevy guy, diehard Chrysler, Dodge, Ford. You see an AMC Javelin, and you're going to give it the respect, because I don't know if there was ever a car company that had a true rivalry with AMC like today with Ford and Chevy. But yeah, as far as vintage cars, that's what it'd be. Modern cars, and you guys are probably going to be shocked. I'm going to say this, knowing that I'm a diehard Ford guy. If there was going to be an outside car of Ford, performance-wise, that I would take, it would probably be a 2009 Corvette ZR1 in black.
Not a bad choice.
Because Corvette, with me being a Mustang guy, Corvette hasn't really been, the car I have instant beef with on side. That Camaro owns that title. Mm-hmm. But the Corvette, I mean, it's really a class above, your Camaros and Mustangs. And on top of that, I've always loved the sound of them, especially those 2009s. I mean, when you're in the low RPMs, you just get that classic V8 rumble, and then you get up and high, and it has like more of a high pitched, sporty sound to it. And it's just one of those cars that you can truly have fun in, like as far as going to a track or something. But you can also go out and enjoy the nice day on the back roads too. Mm-hmm. It's not just something that that's only good for racing. Heck, I think the first thing every retired guy does is go out and buy a Corvette.
It's a pair of white New Balances. Then it's the Vets.
Yeah, and then
Or
it's the
you could be Austin Colson and then have your midlife crisis at 22.
Yeah, but I'm only in 2009 01. The reason why I'm saying that instead of the new C8 Corvette is because I'd just be basic. Everybody wants the new C8 Corvette. Doesn't matter who you like. I know you want one, Pat.
Oh, a C8?
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
I know you want one.
Yeah.
Everybody would want. I mean, it's a mid-engine car it's basically a supercar for $60,000. Who does that other than an American Motor Company?
I know you don't get the Z51 for the $60,000 model, but I would be hard pressed to be dissuaded that a new base C8 would not just eat a C7 Z51's lunch on the track.
No.
I bet it would monster. Just no question.
The weight distribution on that is going to be insane.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even the airflow around the car. I mean, everything is real supercar functions. Mm-hmm. It's not just for looks. But with the 2009 ZR1, it's just back in the day. I mean, that was like that. I mean, even today's standards is still a monster. But just the look of it too. I like the way the C7s look, how aggressive they look. But the 2009, which was a C6 model, it still had that Corvette look that we knew of, that we grew up knowing. Honestly, I think it was the first that didn't have the flip up lights. Don't quote me on that, but
which one?
The C6.
Yeah, no, the C5 didn't have flip ups. I don't.
C5.
No, C5.
No, it did. Yeah, no, yeah.
It was the first to go back to not having pop ups because the first gen didn't have pop ups on it, but the second one did, and they kept that through until the C6 when they got rid of them again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but that's just my info right there.
For me, I mean, besides a tow rig, which that's between Cummins and Power Stroke. Classic car, I'd have the most obnoxious American muscle car ever made, and that's a Shelby Cobra.
Oh, yeah.
A 427 side oiler, open header Shelby Cobra.
Yes.
Wake the dead and disturb the peace and still have a good track time. That sounds awesome.
Yes.
I mean, and the story behind Shelby American is really cool, too. And I mean, the cars themselves, they're just badass. Mm-hmm. You don't see many of them. They look cool. I love them. I love the sound, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
For a modern car, that's split for me. Because, there's a 90s car that I really like, and then there's a new car that I really like. 90s car, I don't know if... You may have not have heard of it, but it's a Nissan Pulsar GTIR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
It is a little two-door hatchback from Japan, made by Nissan. All-wheel drive, 5-speed manual, turbo SR20. And they are just bad little sons of bitches. Cool as shit. It's the same drivetrain, just converted to all-wheel drive that's in the JDM 240SX. Cool as hell.
Well, I think I learned something. I might be wrong, but I think the SR20 was first in the Pulsar GTIR, and then it got moved into the 240.
I think you're right, because the Pulsar, I believe, was around before the 240.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I think it was.
Somebody probably has a little bit more Nissan knowledge, at least than me, in the group. So.
Oh yeah, somebody's listening to this and being like, "You stupid son of a bitch, you're wrong," and something like that. But
Liars.
Brand new, people hate it. I love it. I love the new Supra. I think it's awesome. I think it's a cool car. I think it'd be a great daily turbo car. I think it makes good noises. They shit on the fact it's a BMW, but, a BMW is not a bad brand. It's not a bad car. They're very luxury. They're really nice. I'd have a Supra. I think they're dope.
I think that the Supra has a lot of things going for it. I don't know. I'm still on the fence on it. The only thing I don't like is that it didn't look just like the concept, which was stellar looking.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really fault somebody for not looking like the concept, because the concept, you got no rules.
Right.
That's kind of the thing.
Well, for me, I think that they have proven, besides the fact it doesn't have a manual, which does bug me just a little bit, which would probably sway me away from it, that and the fact I'm not paying that much money for that car.
Oh, it's like $70,000.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just, in a theoretical sense, if you handed me a case full of money, what I would get that would be new, per se. Because I'm not really a muscle car guy. I'm just not. No offense. I like muscle cars. They're great, but just not my thing. But they have already proven that engine to be very capable.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very capable. I mean, I think the last thing I heard was 700 horsepower on the stock block.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going nuts trying to see what they can pull out of those cars, reliably. And I mean, I don't know. Is it not just a motor that BMW already had in production for a little while? Or is it a bespoke motor? Maybe not to the Supra, but the Supra and the Z4.
I don't know. I don't know that for sure. I just know what I've seen on the car so far, and I mean, that's impressive. That's very impressive for a stock block. That is 2J level.
Oh, yeah.
2J level is about 600 to 700, so they haven't made it.
Before you can just start really just tearing it down and making a race motor.
Right. I mean, they did what the Supra did on a stock block, and that's cool. I really like that. So, I mean, and they're cool cars regardless.
They're cool. And that is one thing I was thinking about the Supra. It's like, I firmly believe the engineers thought, okay, there's been 20 years of people modifying these Supras for more power, and they've built this huge reputation of being able to produce this power on a stock block, stock rods, everything. Do we want to throw that away 2 months into marketing this car, where it's just shitting the bed at 420 horsepower and just spewing its guts? I think they beefed up that motor because they knew people were going to push it, and they didn't want to have a PR disaster on their hands. Well, at least with the enthusiast community, not so much the old guys who buy them. But
right, I think that they didn't necessarily hit it out of the park on this one. They didn't, because it's still, and in the end, it's still a BMW.
Yeah.
Underneath, but it's still a cool car.
Yeah, and I mean, and they've already done this with the BRZ GT86. I mean, that's, I would say, more Subaru than it is Toyota. Mm-hmm. But I mean, people kind of. They're not really holding that against them. They're just kind of picking their brain. If it's like, well, I like Toyotas more, they're going to get the GT86 versus if they like Subarus more, they get the BRZ.
And they do look just that much different that people can say, oh, this is a BRZ or this is at one time an FRS or a GT86.
Yeah. And I think there's like a slight difference in the tuning and the suspension. They may have changed that to where they just handle the same now. But I know at least initially with the Scion, it was set up a little looser than the BRZ was. Yeah.
I do like the new Track Edition BRZs.
Oh, what the I used to remember what the name of that was. Like it's the RS something
like that. Because we went and looked at one whenever you still worked at Romaine.
Yeah, we had one out there, but I can't remember what that was.
They're cool.
They're cool.
They are really cool.
That's a car, probably not new, because I'm not going to be spending $35,000 on a new car financing that. But if I needed a daily and I wanted something that was fun to drive, I'd probably look at a BRZ or respect the GT86, just that platform.
Well, the 86 platform in general, at least from my understanding, is for a long time the most modifiable platform. You can essentially do whatever the hell you want with them.
Well, yeah, I mean they made it for a younger audience, and they knew the younger audience was going to be kids who wanted to modify it, and we're going to have just enough money to do it. Mm-hmm. So they didn't want to same thing with maybe the new Supra. It's like they didn't want to just put something out there that falls on its face as soon as you try to mess with it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence on the new Supra. I do think that they beefed it up just for saving face in the event of modification. But on this topic, as far as brands outside of your loyalty, I mean, I don't have a main brand that I stick to primarily over others. I don't call myself like a Ford guy. That's a wasp right next to my computer. But I'd say I primarily lie with General Motors. I mean, we've had really good luck with our GM cars in our family, as opposed to the ones we've had from other manufacturers like Ford or Dodge or your domestic brands typically, because that's what we've at least I've had more experience with. But on the vintage car, I was struggling to think of a brand I really dislike overall, at least in a current sense. And then I realized, Land Rover makes Range Rovers. Those are cars I would never want to consider owning. But then I remembered, it's like, well, those early Discoveries, like the real boxy looking ones, those things are sick. I would happily cruise down the road at like 45 miles an hour in one of those things and just be completely carefree.
The Discovery or the Defender?
Oh, Defender. I think the Defender's the one I'm thinking of because that's the one like a military. It's basically the British Jeep.
Oh, Defender.
Yeah, Defender.
Defender.
Yeah, those things I think are just cool as all hell.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. If I were going to pick a brand that I don't like, and a car that I do love out of it, it'd be one of those old Defenders. And then as far as a modern car, I'm not huge on Ford, honestly. I've kind of moved away from my positive feelings toward them in recent years. Now, they still make cool stuff like the Mustang. The Mustang's not going away in its current form, at least I can't imagine anytime soon. And it's still a serious performance car. There's all kinds of good things coming out of the Mustang house, but Ford has actively pushed me away from liking their brand for the last few years with, getting rid of every single one of their cars, and with it, the car that I would happily own in daily drive being a Ford Fiesta ST. Because those things are just endless. Like, they just look like so much fun to have.
Oh, yeah.
And from what I've learned, or at least heard so far, is that they're less problem prone than their Focus brothers when you go about modifying it. So,
I've heard the 1.8 is a far better platform than the 2.0. Yeah. I've heard it was built better.
Yeah, so for me, it'd be the Fiesta ST, because I never knew that car existed until I played a god-awful game being Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012.
Oh, God, yeah.
Horrible game. But that car was in there, and that was like, this is it. This is the car that I adore. And I love those things.
I'm glad you brought that up, Need for Speed, because I just recently bought the new Heat.
I still haven't bought it.
And I have to say they are back on their game.
Are they?
Heat is so much fun. I had 2015. I didn't buy anything between Carbon and 2015 because I did not trust anything they were putting out. Because I bought Nitro, and it sucked so bad. It sucked so bad that I did not trust anything up until 2015 because I saw the modifications you could do on 2015. So I bought it. It still sucked. But I saw the reviews for Heat. I went ahead and took the chance, and that game's badass. It is badass.
I have many words for Need for Speed. I attribute my interest in cars 100% to Need for Speed, because I remember going to Family Video when I was probably if you want to think of how long ago this probably was. Family Video. It was I would have had to have been like about 11 years old. I think it was 2007. I went in there. I'm pretty sure I went in there to get a Simpsons game, and then they didn't have it that day. I was just like looking around. It's like, well, we're already here. I guess we're going to rent a game. And I saw Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 on there.
Oh.
And I was looking. I was like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know any Need for Speed games or anything. And that was there. I took that home, put it in my PlayStation 2. That copy of that game was fucked up because once you started going like faster, like the game couldn't keep up anymore. So it would lag, and you'd be sitting there frozen for like 30 seconds in the middle of this police chase, and then we'd like click back in, you get going for like another 5 minutes, and it would freeze up again. I fell in love with that game. I played that. I played Carbon. I was okay with that one because that was the first of the auto sculpt. I got I stayed on the Need for Speed train up through Undercover. Yeah, Undercover was the one.
Yeah.
Through there, and then I kind of fell off for a little bit. No, because after Undercover was the new Hot Pursuit, right?
When did Pro Street fall in there?
Pro Street was 07, so that was before Undercover.
Because we had Pro Street for a while.
Pro Street I played a lot of because I had my Wii, so I played on there. And I was I hated the speed races because I was just trying not to shake this thing and just turn my R34 off the road into a telephone pole. I was such a Need for Speed fanboy, and Need for Speed like 2000 Most Wanted 2012 pissed me off, and I never played the Rivals. I never touched that because I played Hot Pursuit. That was a lot of fun, but I got tired of doing like all these high speed drifts and everything, and that just really pissed me off. And 2015 came out, and all I saw whenever they were showing off the game was like, oh, there's no manual transmission. Oh, you're just going to do brake to drift. You can do all this shit. I bought it a year later, and it was a much better game.
Yeah.
I really like 2015 now. Having purchased it a year on, they fixed a whole lot of the issues. I really like 2015. I got the handling to the way I wanted it. And then they came out with, what is it called?
What did they come out with most recently?
No, but not Heat, but the worst thing I've ever played in my life.
Was it? Shoot.
I can't remember what they called that fucking game.
Oh, damn it. Because I literally saw a copy. Payback.
Payback. Payback is the only video game I have never completed. Any game I've ever bought, rented, or whatever. Doesn't matter if I even liked the game that much. No, I was finished it because I just wanted to know it. I got like 2/3 of the way through Payback. I turned it off. I've never touched it again. Because that game is so god-awful, in my eyes, for the way that it plays.
Yeah.
So, I'm tempted to go get Heat.
I have to say, dude, I mean...
But I'm nervous.
Me and Austin Colson, because we're cousins and we grew up together.
Yeah.
We started our lives on... if you really want to go that far back, we started our lives on an indie racing game on the Nintendo Sega.
But I like this.
Oh, yeah. And then Lego Racers on the N64. And then after that was nothing else, and then Need for Speed Carbon.
Yeah.
So we began...
Did you ever play Most Wanted 2005?
Yeah, I did at one of my friend's house on his PlayStation. But
I hold that to be the prestige of what Need for Speed can and should have ever been.
That was a fun game. It was. I just grew up on Carbon, so like the night style of driving, how it went. I just loved Carbon.
I like Carbon too. The only thing I don't know if this was a Wii specific thing with Carbon, but it's like once you beat the game, you could only get like $100 from each race you won.
No, it was with everything because I recently bought a 360 copy, and it did the same thing. Because
that's the only reason I never played Carbon that much. It's just it's like, well, I can't go and collect all the cars since I play this an ungodly amount.
Yeah,
to make the money to do it.
I broke so many controllers as a child playing Carbon.
Oh yeah.
But then we got, after Carbon, we had Nitro, and good God, that was a monstrosity. And then I played Pro Street at Austin's house, and it was okay. I kind of liked it. But after Nitro, I dropped off the map, and then one of my friends in high school saw that I bought a 360, because I joined the 360 game real late. Yeah. Real late, because I really didn't care about video games. I cared about cars. In real life, because, with my dad owning Girton Auto Sales and all that.
You had a pretty... you had an availability to nice cars.
Yeah, I did.
Or an accessibility, I should say.
I did. I joined the 360 game late, and then we bought... He gave me a copy of Rivals. Mm-hmm. And that sucked.
Yeah, I never touched it, but that's all.
I hated that game. I played it for maybe a day and was like, well, this is bullshit. I'm done. And didn't touch anything else up until 2015. Because I saw the car modifications you could do, and I also bought it late because I heard how bad it was. I got
it a year. I literally bought it like a week after they announced, "Oh, this update has a manual transmission in it."
Yeah, and it was $5 at GameStop because no one wanted it.
Jeez.
And I bought it. I played it, and it was great. The only thing I didn't like was there really wasn't much story to it. Because I like racing games with a story. That's just me. I like them. And then when Heat came out, and I saw the trailers for Heat, I was like, "Well, I'll check this out." I was bored at work one day. It was like, dear God, this is awesome.
Is it? Oh.
Because daytime is very Forza.
Well, that's kind of the thing, because I saw this stuff with Heat, like whenever they're like talking about it, it's like, this looks really cool, but I know what I did with Payback, where I broke down and I pre-ordered it 2 days before it came out, and spent $80 on the game I've hated more than anything else I've ever played. So I was like, I'm not going to buy Heat straight away. I'm going to wait, see how people feel about it after a couple months when it's been out. And what is there to do at that point, and go from there. So,
well, that's how it was with Rivals for me. Because I got it from my buddy for free because he just didn't want it. And I should have wondered why.
Yeah, it's a pretty good teller.
It was awful. But with Heat, I took the chance because they said, holy crap, Need for Speed's fun again.
Yeah.
And it really is. I mean, like, nighttime is very Carbon Most Wanted vibe. And then daytime is Forza. It's almost exactly like Forza, except with more body modifications. And you can, put Stancy Hot Boy wheels on your car if you really want to. But, I'm telling you, it's actually a really good game.
That's so tempting. And I'm going to let you kick in because I know you wanted to say something. We kind of hijacked it for a second.
You're leaning into the mic. Let me talk.
Well, it's you brought up some nostalgia there, bringing up Family Video.
He's been hung up on Family Video.
Oh my gosh! But before I get into my topic, let me tell you something. Back in 4th grade, when I was in 4th grade, me and my mother had a deal. Mount Vernon used to have a movie gallery where Pizza Hut is now. And me and my mother had a deal. If I got a B or better on my spelling tests, which, we took one every Friday. If I got B or higher, she'd let me go to movie gallery, run a game, and then she'd order pizza. And you better believe I got an A in freaking spelling.
Every spelling test.
Oh my gosh, dude! But
study day and
got a
night.
walking dictionary.
I grew up when I first got on Need for Speed. It was Hot Pursuit 2.
Okay, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I just like to go, I can drive this thing called a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I can drive this thing called a Lamborghini. And, but then, I think the next Need for Speed game I played after that was Underground 2.
That's still not a bad one.
I've never played it.
And then
I've never played the Undergrounds.
And then the last one I played was Most Wanted, 2005. But, you guys were talking about Need for Speed. One of those car games that I really want to talk about that I think was really underrated was Midnight Club.
Midnight Club 2 and 3.
I mean, it was straight up. It was straight up. Nighttime underground car scene everywhere. I mean, it was freaking.
I have like 4 copies. I have like 4 copies of Most Wanted 2005 for various consoles. I've also got like 4 different copies of Midnight Club 3. I have Midnight Club 3, Midnight Club 3 Remix, Dub Edition, and Midnight Club Dub Edition Remix. And I can't actually play the Remix one because I thought it would play Xbox game on my 360, which it doesn't play that one.
Oh,
well,
because they got Tokyo on the Dub Edition Remix.
Oh yeah.
On Midnight Club 3, you could customize your own vehicles versus Midnight Club 2, where you just won them and you got to drive them. Mm-hmm. But Midnight Club 3, when I was a kid, I was a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, and I was obsessed with Brian O'Connor's green Eclipse that he had in the first movie. The one only lasted like the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah.
I was obsessed with that car, and every street racing game that I had, I would buy an Eclipse, and I would try to make it look like that. But in Need for Speed Underground Midnight Club 3, I bought a Eclipse. It was a Gen 3 Eclipse. I don't think they had the second Gen Eclipses, but I still made it look like his car. Mm-hmm. And that was just a game that that just really brings back.
It
memories.
sticks with you.
Thinking about movie gallery. You say movie gallery, I think of that game. I think of Lego Star Wars and Noble Roman's Pizza, and that just brings back.
Speaking of that, since we're going on the nostalgia track, did anybody here watch Acceleracers? The Hot Wheels movie thing?
No.
Did anybody watch that?
No.
I don't know. Maybe.
That wasn't a very popular thing.
I remember vaguely there was something that I watched about like car racing on TV. I don't know if it was that, but it also doesn't seem like it wasn't out of place for that.
There was a movie series that Hot Wheels
I have very little memory, like from age 9 back. So it's like I might have done it and just not remembered it.
There was a Hot Wheels movie series called Acceleracers, and it was released whenever I was wee little, and that's all we watched. But we only bought the first 2. Mm-hmm. I finished the series at age 17 because I found it on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, that's how that is."
It's all here.
Because I never knew how it ended, and I finally found out how it ended, and the ending was bullshit. Because it left a huge cliffhanger, and let me tell you, I went through a midlife crisis at 17. This is like, no!
This is all my life, Vince. Take it away.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, I think that I find it funny, because whenever you start out, at least racing game-wise, because we're on that topic, on a certain racing game, any game that isn't like that, you don't like it. At least that's how it is for me. Like, starting out on Carbon, like, daytime stuff, hated it. Could not stand it. But, you grow to get over that. But did you ever go back in your old games that you played as a kid and look at the garage that you had?
I've done it a couple times because I don't have access. Because one of the things I did a lot of is I'd play the game all the way through it, do a little bit, like a few hours in post game, just restart it, do it again. Like usually most one is probably the car game. I've got the most amount of just time in. Mm-hmm. But I've easily got 10,000 hours in Pokemon Emerald. So, I mean, I mean, but no, I know exactly what you're saying because
Yeah.
you see exactly what you thought was cool. You know,
And it's
all
so
those
much
years
different.
Ago.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
We went through some old saves on Need for Speed Carbon. And cars that me and Austin designed, because before I had Carbon, I just went over to his house and we just played it non-stop. Because you could do a thing called My Cars, which was outside of career, which you could use for multiplayer races.
Same
and
thing with
everything was unlocked. You could do whatever the hell you wanted, buy whatever car.
Oh, yeah.
And there were multiple monstrosities within. Because, it's like, oh, I'm going to buy a Lamborghini. I'm going to make it max out everything to where it's undrivable. And put big, giant dub wheels on it. And paint it some disgusting color with all of the auto-sculpted aerodynamics turned all the way up.
Yeah.
And there was a Camaro that I found on there. It was pearlescent blue with gloss red 24-inch wheels that were as deep dish as you could possibly get them, with this giant GT wing on the back.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, good God, how much of an idiot was I back then?
Well, there was a wing I remember you could have in Most Wanted 2005. It was called Edge. It's basically what a frame wing is now.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest fucking thing in the world. So I just put on every single car that I had, didn't matter what it was. A fucking Fiat Punto that they have in that game, or if it was a Murcielago. That's the only wing that I ever put on those cars.
I'm a big fan of the Forza Horizon series.
I love Horizon,
And,
especially the first one.
Oh yeah, well, Forza Horizon 2. I remember.
I never played 2.
Well, let me give you. It was like Forza Horizon 1, except that they added rain and driving off road in Forza Horizon 2. Mm-hmm. So you could be driving down the highway and you'll be following a Lamborghini and they'll just stop on the highway and just turn and go in the grass and start driving. It's like, what are you doing? But it rained all the time and it was crazy because you couldn't turn, you'd slip everywhere. But I remember I had this. It was a 1969 Boss 302 Mustang. That, I kind of made the paint look like a Mach 1 because I'm a Mach 1 fan. Mm-hmm. And so I, customized all the paint, gave it that single black racing stripe up the hood and put Mach 1 on the side. But I actually swapped it with a 7-liter Hemi that I twin turboed and made it all-wheel drive. So you have this vintage car going 200 miles per hour down the highway. And all I wanted to do, because my buddy Travis, he had this GTO that he modified, and I was getting frustrated because he was always beating me, and I'm like, I got this 7-liter Hemi with twin turbos, but at the time I didn't all-wheel drive swap it, and finally he told me how he was beating me, and so I made all-wheel drive and I smoked him in the because everybody went to the airstrip, the drag race, and I freaking smoked him. I mean, that game was just so. I mean, just Forza, the Forza series in general, especially Horizon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Horizon's a great series.
Forza 2 was
Horizon
the first.
2?
No, Forza 2.
Oh, Motorsport 2.
Yeah, that was the first game I played on my 360 when I got that, and it was a little bit older. It was on the Platinum Hits. Mm-hmm. I guess title card, you could say, whenever I got it, because I got the Xbox a little bit later than most people did. That was my first experience with what handling that wasn't Need for Speed was like.
Yeah.
I can specifically remember going into quick race, C2 Corvette, Sebring Motorsport Speedway, I'm going to kick ass. Go in there, just stick it into the wall in the first turn, just because I was doing 100 miles an hour, just mad at the brake, just skid it off into the dirt, and I was I got to relearn how to do this. But
did you ever play Forza Motorsport 3 that was narrated by Jeremy Clarkson?
Oh yeah, I've still got the copy.
Oh, dude,
Yes.
I got 2, 3, and 4, and those are by far the best of the Motorsport series, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think it's funny, still, that as you get older and you kind of understand cars more and you become more automotive educated, how you modify your in-game cars differently. How you modify them to be more balanced, or you modify certain cars for certain races. I think that's so cool because, the more you're just like, okay, I'm not going to just max this car out and try to do everything.
Right.
I'm going to build this for certain things because that's what I've been doing in Heat, because this is the first racing game I've played in 7 years, maybe. And it's funny because I've noticed myself modifying it differently. Well, besides 2015. I did play 2015.
Yeah.
But I noticed myself okay, I'm going to balance this car to be a road car. I'm going to do a track car here. I'm going to do an off-road car here, and then a drift car. And you balance it. You don't want to just go full drift or full track because then it
Right.
won't oversteer, or the drift car will never catch grip and you'll slide into a wall. It's so cool to me.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that like I kind of learned with the motorsport series early on. I was like, because I remember in Motorsport 4, which I think is the pinnacle of all that Forza has been. Like 4 and Horizon are just right there with me as far as like just pristine games. But 4 had what was called unicorn cars. If you'd never played Forza, you guys listening to this, unicorn cars, you could only get them if you beat a certain challenge online. So what those challenges typically were like you got to beat a turn 10 developer's lap time on this track. You basically get free reign to use whatever kind of car you want, so long as it's within the specifications. I was horrible at it because I didn't really know how to drive very well. But there was one race. It was like on this like they call it the Amalfi Coast, which is an actual place. But it's like this little track. It's on like cobblestone roads and everything. And it was for F-class cars, slowest of the slow. But what I had to do was I had to get this Ford Pinto, because I was looking at like the best times. They're all running Ford Pintos with like these super specific track setups to get everything set up. I didn't know how to use like the manual buttons because I wasn't very good at it yet. So I had to like just grind my way with an automatic, just like it was just a fucking dog through the corners. But I got it. I got an RX-7 Spirit R, which is a really cool car to have.
Nice. Yes.
After I spent probably 8 hours grinding on that game one day just to get that. But
with you bringing up the RX-7 specifically, because I actually just bought an RX-7 on Heat, funny enough, a Spirit R.
yeah.
The RX-7 kind of made me think of another question for you guys. You know how there are certain cars have reputations.
Oh, absolutely.
Through, just the demographic of ownership, like Corvette, old man. Mustang, hits crowd. Subaru and RX-7, they blow up. Are there other cars that have certain reputations, and why? Because I know we were talking about this earlier with the Subarus, how they have such a bad reputation just because of people putting crap mods and not tuning them or not taking care of them, and of course they blow up. And it's the same way with the Rotaries. The Rotary can be good if you take care of it. So what are some other cars that have those kind of reputations that are maybe unjustified?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going to talk about Camaro. With your mullet having, can't speak good English, Mountain Dew cans and Busch Light on the floor, just that redneck stereotype. That especially with the IROC Camaros.
Oh God, yeah.
Like I remember. Me and my dad, we were hanging out one day, and I saw some old pictures of him, and he had a mullet. And I started laughing. I said, "Man, you look like you should own an IROC Camaro." And he thought that was really funny. But but me being a Mustang guy, a couple of my Camaro buddies, they're like, "Oh, you going to hit a crowd?" And I'm like, "Well, you going to go sleep with your sister?"
Oh, okay.
That's a big swing.
This is a family podcast.
Hey, Camaro guys are all about family.
Oh, God. Oh, my Lord. Jesus.
No, but that is definitely a that's got to be like one of the biggest stereotypes right there, especially with the IROC Camaro. Not so much the new Camaros, but the IROC Camaro, even to F-body Camaro to some extent. Just that
Trailer park.
Trailer trash.
Park. Yeah, trailer trash.
Yeah, I didn't want to say trailer trash, but I want to say redneck.
Well, it's not that everybody who has one is.
It's just the demographic.
That's what it's.
Well, not really the demographic. It's just the stereotype.
The people who have ended up with them.
Yeah.
And are most imagined with them, I suppose. Not necessarily that all of them, or the most have them, but imagined with them. Because, whatever sticks out to you is the one that you see or perceive the most, not that you see the most. Like, I'm sure most people see hundreds of BMWs driving around with their turn signals on, but you notice the one that doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things.
Yeah, the stereotype that people who own BMWs are asshole drivers, and people who own Volvos are boring as shit, and whatever.
Yeah. Guilty.
I think that's funny how stereotypes can just occur so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's just off of one instance.
Oh, yeah.
Like with the Subarus or with the Rotaries or with Mustangs, Camaros, I mean, you name it. But do you have one that maybe is another one that nobody really thinks about that is probably still unjustified?
That nobody thinks about. That's tricky because it's. if nobody thinks about it, it's rare that you would even think about it. And,
Well,
I don't have such
isn't-
the breadth of automotive history as far as like what I've owned to have experienced some of those stereotypes. But I mean, shoot, I don't know. Honestly, I know they're out there. Everybody's got them, and some of them are just more noticed than others. Like I mean, if you look at like a Honda Civic, everybody thinks, oh, you got an exhaust in your Honda Civic. Well, it sounds like shit. It's not fast. It's like that's kind of the stereotype with it.
Yeah, well, then you get up against Adam Osborne's Turbo Civic, and then you see
or
taillights.
any Civic that's put together nicely. It's like,
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in Mount Vernon and in the crew too that have some really nice Hondas.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Adam Osborne, Chandler Pierce, those guys. I mean,
You know, it's
Plus, it's like I like Civic. Honestly, like I would love to have. If I didn't have a Fiesta and I had to pick a hatchback to own, it'd be an EP Civic. The problem with an EP Civic SI is every single one of them, for some reason, has less than 200,000 miles on it, and they're all still $5,000. I can't figure it out.
I would get a Del Sol. I think those are cool as shit. I like them.
I think they're cool, but I already don't fit in the Miata well, so
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know I would fit any better in a Del Sol.
It's nice being a short guy. I can kind of fit in whatever I want.
And I don't have the soft top on the Del Sol to kind of make it a little easier.
You got to take the target top out and just look over the windshield.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, on that same topic of reputations, is there a car that doesn't have a rep that deserves one? That's a hard question.
Yeah, that is tricky.
That at least from your personal experience or what you've heard, is there a car that does not have a reputation that deserves one?
Well, I mean, does Jeep, what reputation does Jeep have other than freaking summiting Everest in your driver's seat?
Breaks a lot and it's expensive.
Salt Life window stickers?
Oh god. Yes.
He hit it right on the nail, man.
Yeah, that's one of them.
A car that doesn't have a stereotype that deserves it.
That's a hard
Or
question.
not really a stereotype, but just I know what you're saying. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of downplay like economy cars as not being no chance of them being fun. Whereas they can really be about the most fun cars in the world. Because not that I own any small economy cars, but my Miata is not a fast car by any means.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really easy to throw around because it doesn't weigh anything. And you can just drive like an asshole. And you're not breaking the law, so it doesn't matter. Nobody gets mad at you and calls the cops on you.
Well, that's kind of like the point with the 86 platform, too.
Yeah. And one thing I know is, like, there's like Spec Miata, which is a race series based solely on Miata. There's also a Spec Fit category for Honda Fits.
Really?
Yeah, you can race Honda Fits just in a spec class, and people do it.
No
that's
shit.
just a little tiny economy Honda platform, not even the Civic, because that's too big now. The Honda,
Apparently.
the Honda Fit, this little tiny hatchback, and it's like, I think people kind of turn their nose up at stuff like that just on the premise that it's not a performance platform, I suppose. I don't know. That's still a tricky question.
It is. I mean, you could kind of even change that up because, I mean, the problem with that, and I mean, I asked the question, but most cars that have reputations, they have them, and most cars that don't have them, they just,
Yeah.
every car has, like Audi, expensive, BMW, turn signals, Subaru, blows up, Mitsubishi, blows up, RX-7, blows up.
Yeah.
But here's one. I mean, we talk about all the cars we love, like the cars we'd love to have. Mm-hmm. And we talked about, like a vintage car and a modern car outside of your brand that you would just absolutely love to have. What's a vintage car and a modern car that you absolutely hate?
Despise?
That you despise with, like, all of your worth?
Yeah, as long as you go first, you have to hand up.
Volkswagen Beetle.
Really? Wait, new or old?
Both.
Or is the answer yes?
Both, yes.
Yes. It's a unique design, but
It's kind of finished.
Well, no,
and I might be a little bit biased because I can't fit in them worth shit, but I just see it and I think kind of cartoony. I think a Herbie Fully Loaded, really cartoony type vibe, and on top of that, just girl car.
Well, you can't really say a car that you hate something just because it's a chick car.
Well, no, I mean it's like I can't look tough driving one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it'd be really funny though, trying to look tough in the Beetle.
Yeah, imagine road rage and you're driving a Beetle.
I mean, Herbie, shit.
Yeah, he just.
Yeah.
That's so both modern and vintage is the Beetle for you, Stallings.
Do what?
Both modern and vintage is the Beetle. There's just nothing else.
Yeah, it's just that me personally, I just thought they're really ugly.
The only Beetle I think
I
that
don't
looks
think they're
good-
particularly pretty cars, honestly.
They're
I can agree with
not.
that.
They're not. Well, I have to say the last Turbo Beetle, like the Sport Beetle, if you do some mods to them, don't look horrible, but they still don't look super good.
I really like the newest Beetle, like the looks of it, because it's more akin to the vintage, which I agreed with. But the concept for the Beetle Dune, like 5 years ago or something, that thing I fell in love with that. And the one that came out was just a trim package, and that was depressing. Yeah. But I thought that would have been sick, but they never did it. God, a vintage car that I don't like, that's tricky, because I like a lot of old stuff. I mean, I appreciate kind of the honesty of a vintage car as opposed to a new car, where it's like new cars are always trying to be shit that they're not. Whereas vintage cars, you really didn't have that so much.
There's got to be something.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Oh, yeah.
And I just may not see it because, you don't see the normal cars of, pick a decade, the 50s, 60s, 70s. You don't see those to kind of know which ones you do or didn't like. As opposed to new cars, you can know exactly which one you don't like. I'm looking at an Aztec right now.
Oh, God. Yeah, there is an Aztec.
Right there.
If you ever watch Breaking Bad, you should love the Aztec.
I'm halfway through Breaking Bad. So no spoilers. I still haven't seen El Camino, and I haven't watched Better Call Saul yet. A vintage car I don't like.
Well, we know what the modern one is. Aztec.
I don't hate the Aztec. It tried to be everything at once, which is kind of... it's by no means anything I want to purchase, but there's cars I hate a lot more than that.
Hey, you're just picking on the freaking just everyday worker car right there. It's like, yeah, you do your job, I fucking hate you.
I'm going to struggle with this one.
I know the modern car I hate the most. The modern car I hate the most is the newest rendition of the Chevrolet Camaro. It is
it's fucking
disgustingly ugly.
Because I love the pre-facelift 6th gen looks incredible to me.
Dude, it looks like it's going to eat your face.
Everything is good about the pre-facelift 6th gen. And then all of that was just shit on for post-facelift.
Oh, yeah. The pre-facelift 6th gen, like David Bruce's car, that looks like it will eat your face. It is angry, pissed off as hell. Super cool. And then you have this, it's like you have Soldier in his glory days, and then old man telling war stories, all like... I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like the Soldier reference is not really a good one. But it's like you took it and then you mashed it all up. It's like it's Play-Doh and then smoothed it out and took away all the angry lines. It's disgusting.
It's like you made a copy of something and then made a copy of the copy and then just kept doing that. And all the definition, everything just kind of goes away. It looks like trash.
Actually, it's cool that you mentioned that because that just gave me a great analogy for that. It's like whenever you're in school, because everybody's done this at some point. You have a paper. And your friend copies your paper and changes it up, and then they copy that and copy that and copy that. If your paper's for the whole class, by the time you get to the last person who gets it, that paper is shit.
Yeah,
because it's been changed up so damn much.
Oh yeah,
it's disgusting. It is horrible.
Oh yeah,
and it's like Chevrolet. What are you doing? You had it, and then they came out with the C8, and it's just awesome.
Oh yeah, they spent all their money on just making the C8 right.
Yeah.
Which is going to sell really well.
Oh, dude, yeah. Oh, yeah. The thing that I think makes me so much madder about the facelift Camaro is actually kind of back to that Soldier reference. He's still a badass.
It doesn't look like it.
It just doesn't look like it.
Yeah, good point. There it came around. So there you go. Work that one back.
You have this badass old dude, but he just doesn't look badass anymore.
Yeah.
And it sucks, man.
Yeah.
It's because that car's good. Because it's a Camaro. It's a good car.
Oh, yeah. It can do anything you ask of it. It just
looks like crap, man.
The beginning of the...
Go ahead, but I know what my new car is.
Write it down.
When Camaro first came out with the retro style, it stayed true to the Gen 1 look. I mean, you look at the front end, you're like, hey, that's similar to the Gen 1, just like Mustang did in 2005, coming out their retro styles. And I think that the reason people love those cars is because they looked like the old ones. Mm-hmm. And now they're getting away from that, and now it's, that love at first sight just isn't there anymore. I mean, I'm not a fan of the way that the S550 looks, but the only reason I would buy one is because it's putting out 460 horsepower from the factory. That's my selling point right there. I mean, if I could get that power from that factory power into my S197, I mean, that's a sell right there.
I know what my new car is that I just fucking despise because it was a complete affront against myself and God and mankind as a whole. So Ford.
Oh no, here we go.
What they did is, and I think I'm correct with the model years on this. 2018 was the last year for the Fiesta ST before they killed off. Or if it was 2018 and it was 2019. Mm-hmm. That was the last year for the Fiesta ST. What Ford did before they killed off all their cars was, we still have all these Fiesta ST parts lying around. Let's put it on a Ford Fiesta SE with none of the performance options, but ST body and trim, and call it the Ford Fiesta ST line. It's an SE with ST body parts on it.
No.
So for me, whenever I get a womp hair in my butt and I start looking at new cars, like trying to find a Fiesta ST for a good deal and everything, all I see are ST lines. And nobody on Carfax or CarGurus or wherever you're looking for them knows the distinction. So all you see are these junky fucking little cars. And that just grinds me to no end.
Yeah, that is factory up badging.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a base Impreza with an STI badge in body and wing. And none of the STI stuff on it. I mean, that's just...
Oh, man.
That's
a crime.
Burns me up.
That is a crime.
And like I said, I don't have a specific brand loyalty, but again, Ford has pissed me off to no end with burning up all like this... Because everybody 2 years ago thought ST really cool, like brand name. It's like, okay, yeah, you get little hot hatches and shit like that. Like, I'm about it. You get the GTs for the fast stuff. You have STs for like the hatchbacks. Now, your Ford ST options are the Edge and the Explorer.
Ugh. Why? Nobody wants that.
No, and I see them here in Evansville. People are buying a fucking Edge ST. It's a crossover.
Well, that's kind of what they did with the Forester XT. They killed that thing too. Because, I mean, the original one was based on the Impreza chassis up until 2008, and that thing was baller. Get it with a manual transmission and a turbo engine, and you have a faster WRX hatchback wagon. And then they fucked that all up and turned it into a crossover and made it huge and not handle anymore with no manual option for the turbo. They made a manual for the base model, but not for the turbo.
Yeah.
It's like, that is bullshit.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the classic cars, like the classic car you hate, I'm having trouble thinking of one too.
I mean, there's some I think are ugly. Like, I think it's like the 66 Pontiac Grand Prix. It had like all this, like the chrome grille and like one layer of headlights in the chrome and then the stacked non-chrome thing. I just think that looks really ugly. There was one at Cars and Coffee, actually. No. Yeah, there was one at Cars and Coffee this Sunday.
Yeah.
I just don't like the way that looks, but...
Oh, I know now. The Mustang 2, because they ruined it.
Yeah,
ruined the Mustang with the Mustang 2.
That's a very low point.
I think it's funny because I'm not biased either because I'm really not a muscle car guy. But you have like the Ford owners arguing with the Chevrolet owners, like, oh, the Mustang's been around forever, and the Camaro died off. It's like, well, yes, but you have the Mustang too.
Yeah. No, hold on. Let's talk about why. I mean, I'm not agreeing why that I like the Mustang too, but let's look at the reason why Ford did it.
Oh, I know why they did it. It was for fuel economy and
it was either kill the Mustang, or which is at this point a freaking legendary car, or make it adapt so that it will survive. You adapt and you overcome.
Right.
And Ford's been doing it all throughout the company history. They adapt and they overcome. And, the Mustang too, the engine was crappy, didn't make any power. As far as the functions were concerned, it was just a basic car, but I mean, it was still a good looking car. You can't argue that. I mean, you cannot tell me that you cannot tell me that you would buy one that had a V8 dropped in it. You cannot tell me that you wouldn't get one if you had the chance.
I did not like how they looked.
I think it looked good for the
when it comes to 80s performance, if I was to buy anything, I would probably get a turbo 5-speed Dodge Omni because those things were just stupidly cool.
Here's my problem with the Mustang 2. The Maverick looks better.
It does.
I would just go with
the Maverick does,
and it's the same
better.
car,
essentially.
Yeah, but the Mustang 2. I mean, I'll admit it did suck. It was a very low point for us Mustang guys, but we still survived. We hit 50 years before any other pony car did, and now the Camaro is going to get killed again. And what's their excuse this time?
Well, I think that
Corvette.
Yeah.
That was all right. That's Kalen's excuse for the first time they killed.
All right, we're not trash talking anybody's opinion.
I'll call him on speakerphone.
No, oh my God, leave him out of this. He's busy.
But that's the excuse for the first time they killed it. But I mean, the second time they just can't sell them. I mean, they're not bringing in the money. Well, the Corvette could be a result of that, but let's look at the Dodge, the Hellcat, and the Demon, and then you have Mustang with their 460 horsepower base V8s coming off the line, and on top of that, they just released a new GT 500, which is putting out crazy numbers. I don't think that GM has the money to compete with those numbers. They can't make a car that puts out those numbers that your average Joe can go buy. If they make one, it's going to be stupid expensive.
Corvette is $60,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that GM put a lot of money into doing the Corvette
There's
as
so
well.
much money in that car.
I mean, when it comes down to it, GM just doesn't have the money to continue the Camaro.
Well, I think that it's not really about the money per se with the Camaro. I think it's after the 6th gen that looked mean as hell. Personally, I don't think they really had anywhere to go because that car was looks-wise was perfect.
Here's what I think, and I'm honestly kind of scared about this. Ford, a couple months ago, released their electric Mustang SUV.
Oh,
not a
God.
Mustang.
Oh,
But
God.
that's not where I'm going with this. That's basically where Mustang has become a brand more than a specific car.
Right.
What would a 7th gen Camaro be? Would it have been more like would it have been a true Mustang fighter, like history would expect it to be? Or would it become like, I don't even know what it would become. So, I mean, I'm upset that they're killing it. I like the Camaro, honestly, a lot. But I don't want to have a Camaro hatchback.
No.
I mean, seriously,
No.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
It'll become a thing. Because they were saying that with Corvette. Corvette could become the Chevrolet brand of performance vehicles. Or you'd have, the stupid fast Corvettes. You'd have the slower Corvettes, and kind of play mishmash or whatever the hell it's going to be. I don't know what they're planning on doing, but I know I am not about an SUV wearing a Mustang badge. Electric, not electric. That doesn't give a fuck. It's a fucking SUV.
Is it even truly wearing the Mustang badge, or is that just concept? Because I have not seen a live picture of it.
It is wearing the Mustang badge.
Yeah.
And the Mustang badge lights up so you can see even at night in the dark.
It's got 3 taillights, set the way every Mustang, aside from the Fox body, has been.
The tri-bar taillights. I mean, that's something I really just don't understand why car makers are going that route of taking their performance cars. I mean, some of them can do it. Some of them can do it, and like with the Forester XT, just per se because it was
We'll make it like a performance SUV kind of. Is that where you're going? Okay.
Quit taking a muscle car or a performance car and dumbing it down to where we're just going to make it like a just a crossover, just a standard mom car or some shit. It's like, why?
Well, I mean,
it's not for that.
Here's my problem. Here's what I see as the issue. It's getting more and more expensive for young people to do anything that they kind of want. Because housing's getting more expensive. Just life in general is more expensive than it was in the past. Especially if you throw college into the mix. It's much more expensive.
God, yeah.
So young kids aren't flocking out to buy brand new cars. So manufacturers are like, well, we got to make money somewhere. It's like, let's go for the people with arthritis. and I mean, seriously, and that's like, because it's one of the things whenever I was over at the dealership, it's like, because I got to see a few cars get their redesigns and kind of like, the change that they made. And it's like a lot of them were just basically making them easier for older people to drive them, because they can't hear as well anymore. They don't pay as much, they don't pay as much attention, but they just don't like process things as quickly. Not thinking wise, but just like reacting to stuff.
And no hate to elderly people. That's just
absolutely not. I mean, they're some of the coolest people that I know are.
Oh yeah,
and they know a lot of shit, and that's what's important. But I mean, a lot of it's like because they can't get into low slung cars more because it hurts to get out of it. And one or two times, for a toy, that's fun. For a car you're going to drive every day, that's not fun. That's just unpleasant.
It's funny you mention that because I know, at least through my grandparents and the people that I've met through the shop and everything. A lot of the older people that I know, they don't want that shit.
Well, I think they don't. I'm saying the electric Mustang. I don't think anybody's really overly fond of that because that just kind of takes. It doesn't process in your brain properly. But like with a lot of the European manufacturers, are all making these hot crossover SUVs, and people are just eating them up because it's just a money spending game at that point. Like showing you've got the top trim level, all that stuff, and a lot of American brands are trying to emulate European brands. When they don't need to. Cadillac keeps trying to be a young person's brand. They're not.
No.
They can make hot sedans and everything, but it's not young people buying them.
No.
It's old guys.
Yeah, like the CTSV is not necessarily a young people's car.
No.
Stop trying to be.
No, like, just, it's like chill with trying to sell young people cars, because one of the things, because they came out with two new models while I was over there, the XT4 and the XT6. And they keep trying to say, oh, it's a car for young, motivated individuals. It's like, no, it's not. It's the same thing as the XT5 with less and more space. It's a car for old ladies that want a quiet car. It's not sporty. It's an SUV.
I really don't know. I mean, of all of the friends that I have, whether they be car people or not, I don't know any of them who want a boring-ass car. They just don't. And of course, being a biased person because I'm in the car scene and most of the people I know are car enthusiasts. But it's like, why are you getting rid of all the fun cars? Because, you're going to lose a lot of customers over that. Like the ST line.
Oh, that just pissed me off to know.
That's just stupid because you had a car for young people.
Yeah.
That they fucking loved.
No, seriously. They killed that car off, like I just mentioned, like a couple years ago. Before I could really get to the point where I had the money to go out and buy one. Because my plan was in high school when that car came out, like, that's going to be the new car that I buy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to go for. They just killed that off, because they made the new generation for Europe, so they're making a new ST.
Yeah, it's just not ours.
It's not here. So I can't go and give Ford my business. Instead, I'm just going to be like, well, if I'm going to buy a new car, it's not going to be a Ford, because what am I going to buy?
Yeah.
An Edge?
Ugh.
No, I'm not doing that.
Well, does GM or Mopar, Chrysler...
GM's doing the same thing. They're killing off all their cars, too.
Nobody... I can't, unless... Correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot think of an American brand right now that sells a little, affordable, fun car. They're all high-dollar muscle cars, or big-ass SUVs, or family cars, or, in Chrysler's case, off-road vehicles. There's not a little fun, affordable car that is made by Americans anymore. It doesn't exist.
I think a lot of the American brands, and I think mostly it's the American brands that have this issue, is they've got their heads so far up their asses thinking, oh, well, young people don't care about new cars. They don't want a performance car. They want a car with features. They want all these buttons and sensors and everything. I mean, I personally don't. Like, the last thing, when I was working at the dealership, I was pissed off to no end about how much they talk about all these like safety and connectivity features and everything. It's like, I'm driving the car down the road. I don't want to screw with my touchscreen and then run into somebody. Or vice versa. I don't want to get run into.
They nailed it with the Fiesta ST.
Oh my God, yeah. Every single auto journalist or whoever owned one talked about how much they loved it.
Yeah.
To drive it, own it, everything. Just no issues across the board with that car.
Well, it's the same thing with the 86 platform. It's an affordable, little, fun car.
Oh, yeah.
And people fucking love it.
Yeah.
Because all of the European and the Japanese brands, they know what they're doing because they're selling little, fun cars like the GTI.
And the import vehicles like Hondas and everything, they're loving that American manufacturer killing off all their small cars because they're getting all that business now.
Oh, yeah.
People aren't saying, oh, well, you just killed off say, Chevy Cruiser, for example. I'm going to go buy a Chevy Trax.
Oh, God.
They aren't saying that. They're like, well, I want a small car. Honda Civic.
Yeah.
Or Toyota Yaris. Whatever. They're just saying, this is my price point. This is the kind of car that I like, being able to park and do all these things. It fits my lifestyle. I'll go get that one.
You know, every European and Japanese brand, except for, like the high dollar ones like Porsche and Mercedes and Audi and them, every single one has a little, hot, affordable hatchback that is fun for people like us. GTI, let's see, the Civic Si or the Type R, I
think Toyota has that GR line or something. They got something weird.
Oh, that new
TRD, but they got that one nutty thing. I don't think we're going to get that.
That new Yaris GR.
I don't think we're going to get it, but it looks killer.
It looks killer, yes. And then, of course, with Subaru, you have the STI, the WRX. I mean, they're not hatchbacks, but the BRZ. They still have their fun cars. Yeah. I'm sad they're killing the EJ, but fun cars. And then, you have, with Toyota, with still the GT86.
Yeah.
And does Toyota have anything else besides the 80? Oh, the Supra. They brought back the Supra, and they're talking about the MR2. And then even fucking Kia has the Stinger now. And Mazda has the Miata and the Speed
Hyundai
series.
Has the Veloster N, which won Motor Trend's Performance Car of the Year.
Yeah.
It beat out McLaren's. It beat out everything. I think it's in that package, like a $35,000 Hyundai.
Yeah. Yeah.
That won Performance Car of the Year.
And then the new
I see Velosters, not even just like the hot ones, but just Velosters. I'm like, that's a good fucking looking car.
Oh, yeah.
I think those things are awesome. Like, if I were going to go buy a new car right now, I'm going to Hyundai.
Well, and then even Volvo has the, was it Polestar?
Yeah, but that thing is ludicrously expensive.
Well, I mean, still, you still have, everybody has.
I'm a big Volvo guy. I like Volvos. My first car was a Volvo. I'm going to buy another Volvo. It's going to be an R package because those things are just slick.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
no, they're very boxy, but I love them a lot. I like Volvo. And I mean, everybody's kind of just trying to,
But, and at least from my understanding of things, and it's not every young person, because some people like muscle cars and some people and all that, but your average young person who may not be a huge car enthusiast but wants to have something fun are going to buy a fuel-efficient, fast, little car. Yeah. That probably is decent in the winter, so front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And they can't get that from American brands anymore. I know people who are older who want little cars. Like, my dad loves the EcoBoost Mustang. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily a little car, but I mean, it's still fuel efficient, fast.
It's not a fucking Edge.
No, yeah, and you can get it with a manual, for fuck's sake. Like, why are we doing this? Because I can't name one young person who wants an Edge or what was it, an Explorer ST?
Yeah.
I can't name one fucking person who wants that shit. Well, nobody, man.
I think the American manufacturers are so lost thinking that young people and old people, they're afraid to own a car that doesn't do everything. So everything's becoming a crossover in SUV because it fits more stuff so you can do everything. You can fit all your friends in and all their stuff. It's like, what happened, 10, 20 years ago whenever people didn't all buy SUVs and they still managed to get their friends around and all their stuff and they were perfectly happy.
Yeah. Four-door Golf. I mean, Golf GTR or even the R if you really want to go crazy. The R is a badass car. That's a cool freaking car. And you can get it in a four-door. You can haul all your friends around in it. You can put a 12-inch sub and then all your bags in the back. Yeah. I mean, and you can put a roof rack on it. Yeah. And it's all-wheel drive. So you're fine in the snow, too. And you can get into manual.
And at the same time, I don't know if it's more the manufacturers or the people, honestly, because, as I mentioned a couple times, I used to work in a dealership, that forget that they really don't carry around all their dogs, their kids, everything, all the time.
No.
They do that once. So you're going to spend, like, an extra $10,000, $15,000, relative to what the cars I'm selling, like Buicks and GMCs, to cover that one thing once a year versus buying a car that meets your needs the exact amount for a lot less money, you'll be just as happy and just as comfortable driving.
Yeah. And, it's funny you mentioned that. I work in the RV industry. We own an RV dealership. We sell classic cars, too. Shameless self-promotion. If you need a classic car, talk to me. Or a motorcycle, for that matter. But
Or a camper.
Or a camper.
Yeah.
Or anything. Just talk to me. We deal a lot of
drugs?
shit. Well, no.
Yeah, dude.
No. Well, Stallings, you got your weed card.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah, your jailer's license. But we have a lot of people come in, and something that we tell them all the time. So if you're going to buy a camper, please listen to this. They come in and they're just like, well, we might bring our kids, and we might bring the dog, and we might bring our grandkids, and we might bring this piece of the family, or whatever. And it's like, you're going to buy something massive that is way too expensive, and those people are never going to come with you. Because there's going to come a point in time that your kids don't want to come camping with you, no offense. But they're going to want to do something else. And then you're going to have this giant fucking camper that you don't like driving or towing, depending on what you get.
And they may also then buy a truck to tow it because their old 1500 can't pull that safely.
No, at all. So we try to sway them because, we have some small, affordable, some of them are not, depending on your price range, of course.
Yeah, and like what you want. It's the same thing.
But you see, what's cool is that a lot of those, they have you can fold this down into a bed if you need it. Or like with the teardrops we have, you can actually attach a tent to the door and you can have more space. So don't buy something that you just think you're going to need. Yeah. Buy something that you know you're going to use. Because, sometimes you're going to have multiple people. So yes, buy something big. Or you're going to live in it. Buy something big. Yeah. But, not necessarily for cars, just for RVs, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's just like the same thing for cars. I'm not going to go out and buy a fucking Denali SUV because I want to have my entire family around. No, I'm going to buy a little hatchback, and if somebody needs a ride, I got them.
Yeah. Well, that's what your life basically is.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, a few years down the line, this is kind of what we're planning on doing. It's like, how many years are you planning ahead?
Yeah.
For this car purchase? Because based on the car you're trading in, that was 3 years ago. So in 3 years, you're probably going to be changing cars again. So you want to buy this car for then, and then just get rid of it then, and then buy a car again then.
And they're going to buy something different because their plan's going to change.
And that's it. It's like, you don't know where your plans are going to be. Buy the car that you like for now and like the immediate future and enjoy it. And if something comes up drastically different than what you can foresee, then you need to consider making that kind of a life change.
Yeah, or buying another one for that matter. Yeah. I know a lot of people, you have your performance cars and you have your tow rigs and then you have this car for this event or you have a bike or whatever, you have your daily driver. You can't really, and it's hard to do that, especially for car enthusiasts on the money. Because, you need to buy a daily that's reliable, but still, I don't know, some people prefer to have a fun daily. I know I do. And then you have all the money dumped into your performance car. And then buy a trailer, buy a tow rig. Because you're not going to want to daily drive a big truck unless you like that. Some people do. I personally don't, being a small guy. But it's like, it's a lot of money to do that, but you also don't want to miss out on anything. So buy the car you want, the car that you really, really, really want.
Yeah.
Because you're going to regret it if you don't.
Don't try to round up everything you want to do into one car. Because you're just going to be making compromises and it's never going to do anything that you actually want it to do.
And there are cars that can do more than one thing, which is cool.
But you're always making compromises.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you can have a pickup truck and a track car in the same vehicle, but that's going to be a really shitty truck.
And a really shitty track car.
Yeah.
You can have a daily driver that's a cool performance car that, gets around good in the snow, gets good fuel economy, and you can haul your friends and some shit in it. You can get that. GTI, Forester XT, any Subaru that's a four-door, for that matter, in turbo Subaru. Or, whatever, all the...
Veloster.
If you really want to go crazy, you can get the Polestar from Volvo. Or the Stinger, even. The Stinger wouldn't be too bad.
Stingers are really cool.
Or if you don't want something like that, if you just want a car that you like
Starts.
to drive. Yeah.
Yeah, you just want a basic car that gets you where you need to go and you can put all your money into the fun cars.
Yeah. Or you can...
That's fair.
Or maybe you just want one fun car and you don't plan on hauling anybody else around. Corvette, Miata, a little two-seater. Just think about what you want now. And if life changes, buy another car or trade it in. Buy what you want now. Because, you're going to be looking back saying, man, I wish I would have bought that whatever performance car that I really wanted before I had kids. Yeah. Or whatever.
Well, I just think, do you want to...
No, I was agreeing with
Okay. I was going to say, because Because I remember, like, I just think back to like what my parents' situation was whenever they first had me, and I knew they knew they were going to have kids, but they had a Dodge Intrepid, and my dad, I think he had an old Jeep Cherokee, that or was it a Ford Explorer? But it was a small SUV that he just had because he had to move equipment every once in a while. My mom just had a small car. That's what they had. They didn't go buying 3-row SUVs because they were planning on having multiple kids. And then, with kids come friends, and they were thinking, oh, well, we got to have these 2 giant fucking Ford Excursions to carry around all these toddlers everywhere. They didn't think about that because that's not practical, and it's just expensive, and you're just going to finance these cars after 84 months, which is an ungodly amount of time to finance a car.
Oh, God,
too.
yeah.
And you just end up pissed off at the end of it because you're underwater in your car. And then you get burnt up about having, like, oh, well, why did I buy this car? Why is it not worth this much? And then you're annoyed and you go buy something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that, like, whenever...
A car that can eat up equity.
Yeah, my parents they didn't ever buy super big vehicles. We have one big vehicle, and we bought it used just for family road trips, and it was cheap, and it was good. We have a OBS Suburban with a 454.
Yeah.
You can tow with it, and it's a good, 3 rows and all that shit. But that's not what they drive every day. My mom drives an AMG wagon, and Dad drives a Land Rover or a Tacoma.
Yeah.
And even back in the day, they didn't drive anything super crazy, like super big crazy. They bought what they wanted.
Yeah.
And it still worked,
Well, I mean, for me, even, like, I've got my Tahoe, which I love daily driving. I'm completely sentimentally attached to that specific car. And I have my Miata. But it's like, the Tahoe gets 15 miles a gallon.
Ew, yeah.
On a good day. And it's like, it'd be nice to have something that gets better mileage. And it's like, if I'm going to get something that gets better mileage just to be a daily, I'm going to get something small, cheap. Mm-hmm. No frills. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I need to get something that does everything. I need to get something with like Apple CarPlay, leather seats. I need to get it with the blind spot monitor. I need to get it with this. I need to have to do everything. And I need to wipe my ass too. If I can get that in on this trim level.
Oh, God.
I don't think of that. I'm just thinking I want to minimize my costs and maximize like the value I'm going to get out of it. Because I like driving my Tahoe. I like driving the Miata. I just want something that I can affordably run around in.
Right.
And it's hard to add a car and reduce your costs. I get that. So it's not really a thing right now. But eventually it's going to be like, I got to get a car that's cheaper on gas.
Well, this is actually a good question for both of you. And I know we're probably running really long on time.
Yeah, we're at about an hour and 40 something.
Yeah, we can wrap up with this last one.
Probably.
When it comes to a daily driver, because I know everybody looks at a daily differently. Some people will just get around in the cheapest piece of shit you can find. And some people are a little different. What do you look for in a daily driver? And what can you recommend to our audience to look for in a daily driver for their specific application?
For me, what I look for in a daily driver more than anything else is just ease of ownership. Not even so much to just how cheap it is, but just ease of ownership. Like I'm not going to go buy a European car for a daily driver. I'm just not. Because when something goes wrong, the part's more expensive for it. And for some reason, they use triangle-shaped Allen keys for the bolts. For no fucking reason other than to be difficult.
They're just pissed because they lost a war.
Oh, no. We're not getting into that.
But that's like why that's what I look for. I look at ease of ownership. It's like, okay, how easy are parts to get for this car? How easy is doing maintenance? Are there any major glaring issues with this vehicle that I'm going to have to deal with, or is there something I can avoid doing? So, I mean, for me, it's like I look at, like, Toyotas. Just because, for the most part, they're pretty well-sorted vehicles and they don't ask for a whole lot. Or, if I had to pick, like, a cheap daily, I'd go to any used car lot and look for a Pontiac 3800, and I'd buy that, and I'd never have to think about it. Because in my book, those are the most reliable cars ever built. Any 3800 Pontiac, or General Motors vehicle. Because they made it through high school and through all manners of shit, and they keep going.
Right.
So for me, it's ease of ownership. More than the overall cost, it's ease. Because a daily just needs to start every day and get you where you need to go when you need to go.
Yeah. What about you, Stones?
I agree with you on ease of ownership. Another thing that I look for in a daily is what is your day-to-day life going to consist of, and how does your seasonal situation go?
That's a big one.
especially in this area. I have my Mustang, and that's my fun car. But if there is a shit ton of snow and ice on the roads, I'm not going to take it out. That's why I got my Ford Bronco. The Ford Bronco, it was made back in the day when everything was lasting. And this truck has 40,000 miles less than the Mustang, 30 years old, no leaks, no bangs, check engine light's not even on. So old school trucks are probably some of your most reliable vehicles you can find. Granted, it's kind of a bear in the wintertime because it's not fuel injected, but it starts up. It starts up, it goes.
For 80 years, people managed to get around with carbureted cars.
Yeah,
they're fine.
So it's not like they can't do it now.
Yeah, if we could have the worst winter in history, and I'll get around just fine. I'll just throw it in 4-wheel drive, I'll just go. That's just our situation here in Southern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
That the weather is kind of crazy.
Yeah, you never can really predict it.
Today it was almost 60 degrees, and now it's freezing.
Yeah, it's cold in here now.
I don't have a sweater on.
For me, I have a problem where I see so much good in so many different cars that it's hard for me to choose a daily. I'm actually in a position right now where in about a week or two I will be purchasing a daily because the Forester killed its last turbo and bad things happened. And we're just going to build it. Yeah. We're just going to go ahead and put everything aside and just engine swap it, which stay tuned. But for me, personally, I cannot stand driving a boring car at all. I can't stand it. For me, if I got some piece of crap that I hated, it would mean, okay, let's dump all my money into the Forester and be broke just so I can get my fun car back up and running. Because, I drove that car every day. It was great.
Do it for Dale.
So, fun. Not necessarily fast.
Right.
Just you like to drive it. It's something that you get in the car and you're like, okay, this is going to be a good day. That's how it was in the Forester every day, starting it up and waking up the neighbors at 5 in the morning. It was great.
Yeah.
Fun to drive. Fuel efficiency to a point. It doesn't have to be stupid good.
You don't have to buy a hypermiler.
No, just decent. Yeah. Decent fuel efficiency. For around here, all-wheel drive or four-wheel. Front wheel's okay, but I just have flashbacks to flying up on the curb in my front-wheel drive car, my first car. Flying up on the curb when hitting ice. That was awful. Or just a bad patch of snow or not getting stuck and shit like that. Some people, this is different, but for me, a manual transmission. I love that. I feel like I have more control over the car in a manual, so I prefer to drive one. Fuck you. Fuck you, man. Leave me alone. I like it. You're just mad because you don't have one. But
Respect the build, man. Respect the build.
I'm just shitting you. Ease of ownership is definitely one. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most reliable car in the world, but it has to be something I understand. Okay, it's making this noise, which must mean it's this problem. This is how I can fix it. This is how much it's going to cost. And this is what I can do to prevent said problem. Whatever.
Yeah.
And semi-cost effective, on the price of the car and parts and shit like that, which could come with, knowing where to get the parts cheap and shit like that. So, I know you daily drive your Chevy.
Yeah.
And you daily your Bronco. For me, I would daily a turbo Subaru, just like the one I have, just not built.
Yeah.
Because my parents are at Mecum right now, Mecum Auctions.
Which one?
Kissimmee, Florida.
Isn't that where Bullet is going up for auction?
It is.
Huh?
Yeah, Bullet's going up for auction out there right now. They're projecting like $3.6 million for this car.
Yeah, the original.
Like the original Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen's hero car. So the one he was driving. The stunt car is also one of the official Bullets. And I think that one's getting restored right now, but they're expecting this is the big money car.
Oh, yeah, because unrestored.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it still has like movie equipment or where it would have been
Yeah.
in the car.
Where's this at?
Kissimmee, Florida.
I'll see you guys later.
I'm going to go take out a huge loan, boys.
Dad, can I borrow some money?
But, I've been looking on the Kissimmee auctions, and I found, there was a pristine Mark III Supra. There was, because that'd be dope.
Yeah.
There was a 30,000-mile WRX hatchback. Awesome. There was something I am looking at, which is a Mazda 2.2 turbo, 5-speed swapped B2200 truck. Making like 240 horsepower and 300 pounds of torque. It's just a cool little mini truck.
Let me add something. My daily will not be engine swapped. That's for me. For others, sure, but
that
for
was
me,
just
that's not a thing.
It is just a cool little thing to think about. But personally,
it's so much fun playing those games. Like it's like, I could get this.
Yeah,
that's so much. I do that all the time.
But I have to say, if I'm going to daily something, it'll probably be just because of how well they're built. Probably an 04 to 07 STI. Because the transmissions are bulletproof, the engines are tuned really well, they have all the extra shit that keeps it from blowing up, and they're just cool as shit, man. I love them. And that's probably what I would daily. I mean, I know they're a little more expensive, and I know that, oh god, it's a Subaru, it's going to blow up. But I mean, snow drifting, and it's a Subaru, and I understand it. I don't know. That's my personal preference would be some sort of Subaru.
Yeah.
And so, for all you viewers listening out there, either get a mid-sized SUV or a Subaru, or a Lancer, if you really want to go that route.
Mitsubishi.
Yeah.
That's a brand as a whole I don't trust.
Can't say I do either. I mean, the Evo was cool, but
cool. I just don't trust it. And that's kind of my same issue with like Subarus. Is like I think they're cool as hell. I'd love to have one. Stereotypically, I don't want to maintain it.
right.
And RX-7s. I adore RX-7s, but I'm not going to buy one.
I don't
At least
know.
not until that's like a fifth car for me. It's an RX-7. That's like daily, backup daily, toy, project, then RX-7.
I think the next car I might be looking at would probably be an RX-7 after the daily driver, just because I want to build a rotary.
Oh, and the killer. I mean, I would be building one. If I had my choice of RX-7, I'd get a early carbureted 12A FB RX-7.
Just the earlier.
Even slower than my Miata, and I'm okay with that.
But it makes rotary noises.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think kind of as you said, like we're gonna try to wrap it up at this. We've been going at this for a little bit over an hour, 50 minutes. So I think we'll try to close up shop here right now, and yeah, I mean, it's been fun recording this again. Having an extra person on the show really helps, kind of spur conversation and bring in new ideas. And I hope you guys have all enjoyed. And same deal as last time. If you have questions, comments, let us know. If you want us to talk about something, hit us up. We want to, discuss this. And this is kind of for you guys. It's not just for us doing this. So.
Please send one of the moderators or admins or Cameron. Send him questions you'd like to have answered on the show. If you have a burning question in your mind that you want.
And not that we're experts by any stretch, but, just if you want to hear our opinion.
If you want 3 or 4 idiots to answer your burning question, please DM us at.
1 out of 4 of those answers might be right.
Hey, you never know. We might give solid consumer advice.
Seriously.
Here's some solid consumer advice. Don't LS swap your shit.
No, we're not getting into that. Not now.
That's just a preview for next episode.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, we can.
On the next episode.
Yeah, we can.
Flaming everyone.
Yeah, so I think we can leave it there. So if you guys have questions, let us know. And I hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to doing this again. Thanks.